Lately, I've been playing around with AI applications. I've been learning how to write and deploy them to Fly.io. Not everything has been super obvious, so here I'm going to share 5 tips of things I've learned. I hope you find them useful. Number 1. Each model should have its own application and its own set of machines. You don't want to be mixing application logic with your model. This is going to make it easier to do things like load balancing, collecting statistics, debugging from logs. And tools like Ollama expose an HTTP API that you can use to talk to the model over the network, so make sure you're using it. The documentation is comprehensive and look at these API responses. All of those metrics, they're begging to go to a dashboard, to Datadog, somewhere. Anyway, if you're using Fly.io, you can deploy an Ollama instance to its own application by running fly launch, then give it a custom name, so -- name my sandwich app, and let's use a template for Ollama, so do -- from, and then we write the repo URL. Would you like to copy its configuration to the new app? Yes, this is a template, so we want to use the same configuration as a remote application, the Fly Apps Ollama demo here. Do you want to tweak these settings before proceeding? No, we don't need to do that. Once the application has been created, we can use curl to confirm that everything's running. Ollama is running. Number 2, keep access to the API of your models private. We don't want random internet people eating your budget. GPUs are expensive, so let's make sure that our models are running inside a private network. To do this, we can use fly launch and the Ollama image to create our application, but let's give the application a private v6 address before that. We can run the fly launch command, but this time we will add a no deploy flag and we'll assign it to a private IP. So we do fly launch from, we give it the repo, and then at the end we do the no deploy. This is followed by fly IPs allocate v6 -- private. With this configuration, your applications can still talk to the Ollama machines, but regular people on the internet won't have access to them anymore. Number 3. While we're talking about Ollama, how about we download the models only once? By default, Fly machines have ephemeral file systems that are rebuilt every time we redeploy an application. We can fix this by attaching a volume to our machines. A volume is just a fancy way of saying hard drive. So the idea here is that Ollama is gonna download the models once, store them in the hard drive, and then in the next runs, it's just gonna pull it from there instead of downloading it every time. To do this, we need to add a mounts section to our fly.toml configuration file. So we're gonna do mounts, and it's gonna have 3 fields: source, destination, and initial size. The source is going to be the name of the volume, so sandwiches volumes is good. Destination is where in the hard drive are we going to mount this model, so let's do /app/models. And lastly, the size, let's just go with 50 gigs. Lastly, by default, Ollama will store the models in the user's home, which in this case is the root user. If you want to use another directory, like we're doing here, you can set the Ollama models environment variable, like this. We create an env section in the fly.toml, and then we just create the variable named Ollama models, and we give it a value, the same as the destination we used for volume before. Number 4, don't wipe your database. Are you using Chroma, Base Llama Index, or any other in-memory vector database? If that's the case, you want to make sure that you persist your data to an external volume so it doesn't get wiped every time you redeploy your application. Let's create a database volume so everything's persisted after reboots. We're gonna add a mount section. The source is going to be the name. Let's call it sandwich dv. The destination is again the point where we mount this on our file system, so do /app/database, and for the initial size, let's go with 50 gigs. Most databases have an environment variable that allows you to set the path where do you want the data to be stored. In the case of Chroma, you can use the environment variable persist directory. Weaviate uses persistence data path. Check your database's documentation for more information or ask a question here in the comments. Okay, number 5. This one's important. Don't forget to stop your GPUs. GPUs are an expensive resource regardless of where you host your application. One thing you need to do is make sure that you're stopping the machines when the processing is over, once the GPU is idle. So how do we stop our application when there's no traffic? Take a look at the fly.toml configuration file. You can see two relevant keys in here: auto-stop machines and auto-start machines. Auto-stop machines will stop the running machines when the application is idle, which is what we want. Auto-start machines will restart the machines whenever a new request comes in. With this configuration, we will only be billed when the application is being actively used by someone. To do a recap, here are the 5 tips we covered. Number 1. Each model should have its own application. Number 2. Keep access to your model's API private. Number 3. Download your models only once. Number 4. Don't wipe your database. And number 5. Stop your GPU when it's idle. I hope that you found this video useful, and happy hacking!